Now, I've been doing hypnosis and hypnotherapy for over 20 years, so it's been a very long time of doing that. I've spent a lot of time treating pain with hypnosis. I was ran over about a decade ago now, and I was hospitalised, and while I was hospitalised, I was on a morphine drip. So I had quite bad injuries, luckily all focused on one arm. So one arm strapped up, and the other arm had a drip going into the back of it, a needle going to the back of the hand, and it was self-administering morphine. So I, like most people would do, took the easy way out with the pain control and just keep pressing the button to self-administer the morphine. But then after a day or two, I was finding that my mouth was working at a different speed to my brain. So I don't know if it genuinely was from other people's perspective, but from my own perspective, and yet my brain felt like it was rushing along like this really, really fast, and there was this huge difference, and it was really uncomfortable. And so I said to one of the nurses, how do I get off of the morphine? Because it's really beginning to annoy me. I'm getting quite angry. I'm just, it's horrible. The nurse said, when you don't self-administer for at least 24 hours, we will remove the drip because we'll assume you don't need it anymore. So I used self-hypnosis to overcome that. I used self-hypnosis to get rid of the pain so that I didn't need the morphine. So when I left the hospital, I was given a big bag full of pain medication, including liquid morphine, very big ibuprofen tablets, and a whole range of other stuff. And I decided there's no way I wanted to use that medication, because I thought, what are going to be the side effects of me taking all this medication? It doesn't sound like a good idea. So I used self-hypnosis from that point on to manage my own pain. So not only do I have the skills and abilities as a hypnotherapist to treat other people's pains, but I have the personal experience of using self-hypnosis to treat my own pain. And that's what I'm sharing with you here on this course. So through this course, you'll have a self-hypnosis lesson that will teach you about using self-hypnosis. It will guide you through a self-hypnosis process. I'll also talk about how to do self-hypnosis, what self-hypnosis is, and some other bits and pieces that can be helpful to manage pain. Is this course for you? What I thought would be a good idea was to do just a brief self-hypnosis experience now, just 5 minutes or so that you've got an idea of what I'm like as a hypnotist and what your experience will be when you listen to the full-length hypnosis session later on in the course. So, to prepare yourself to listen to this, make sure that you know that you're not going to be disturbed, make sure that you're not having to pay your attention to anything else. No driving, no operating machinery, no having the dinner on in the other room, and you'll just quickly hypnotize yourself and then get back to it. So you really want to dedicate these next 5 minutes or so just to this. And ideally have perhaps half an hour free so that when you come around you can still just take your time. In case you're really relaxed, you can take your time over it. And although this is just a brief 5-minute self-hypnosis track, I'm still going to focus on pain control and on tension headaches, because that's what this session is about, that's what this course is about. So if you're ready, just allow yourself to get comfortable, so you could sit down or lie down. And just allow your eyes to close gently. And with your eyes closed, you can listen to my voice. And as you listen to my voice, you can begin to notice what your hands feel like. So just notice what your hands feel like, where they're resting right now. Notice what your fingertips are touching, and what feelings you can notice through your fingertips. And most people haven't really pay close attention to your fingertips. Most people go through life not really noticing, but really notice what your fingertips are touching. Notice what feelings you can feel there. And as you notice that, just begin to allow your awareness to move from your fingertips into your legs. And pay attention to your legs. Just really notice which leg feels the heaviest, which leg feels the lightest. And notice whether you can notice any warmth or coolness around your body. Sometimes people notice a warmth or a coolness on their cheeks as they drift deeper into hypnosis. So as you listen to me and drift deeper and more comfortably into hypnosis, you'll begin to feel more relaxed. And sometimes when you plant plants, you want to make sure that the soil bed is nice and soft and comfortable. You want that sort of springy soil to plant the plants in. And that way you help those plants to grow as well as possible. And you know, the largest sunflowers grow when they're not being watched. If you keep going and digging up a sunflower to see if the seed has started growing yet, it never gets round to it. And a part of you might wonder why I'm talking about sunflowers and seeds. But another part of you is just relaxing and drifting deeper and deeper and allowing yourself to be absorbed in the experience. Where all tension can just drift away from the shoulders, from the arms, from the legs. Almost like gravity just pulls it all away from you, pulls it all down through your body and out through your feet. And it can almost be like you can see it drifting and floating through you. See it drifting out through your feet and flowing down to the ground and floating off and flowing away. And as you listen to me, pay attention, can drift away, all away. And any areas of discomfort, you can notice a white light surrounding them. Just a calming, comfortable white light. You can notice the white light surrounding them, and as you notice that white light, the white light can begin to move left and right, backwards and forwards. That white light can move left and right, backwards and forwards, gradually moving and dislodging that discomfort. Gradually moving and dislodging that discomfort. And as that moves left, right, backwards and forwards, you can notice how that white light begins to get more comfortable in your mind as it shrinks and gets smaller and smaller. Now sometimes it gets smaller and smaller and fades and disappears. Other times it gets smaller and smaller, and the brightness of the light becomes more intense. And the only intensity there is the brightness of the light. So you choose to look away from that bright light as it moves away from you. And after a while it's small enough to be just the size of a pea. And you can really notice how that small, bright, white light moves outside of you, drifts and floats outside of you. And you can try and hold that white light in front of you using your mind, almost like just focusing on that bright white light in a way that helps you to realize that it's floating in the air, keeping a certain level of calmness, where the more calm you are, the higher it floats, and the less calm you are, the lower it floats. And you can practice holding that floating in midair, just looking at that and holding it floating in midair. And as it floats in midair, it can begin to shrink even further and begin to dissolve, begin to lose energy, lose power, until eventually it just fizzles and fades away. And when it just fizzles and fades away, you'll know that it's almost time to drift back to the room. And a part of you will learn and understand things from this experience that are incredibly helpful to you. But it's learning and understanding that's unconscious, not conscious. Learning and understanding that makes a difference in your mind. It makes a difference in your head that helps you to understand things in a new way. And when you learn and understand in this new way, I'll count from 1 up to 3, and then on the count of 3 you'll open your eyes feeling comfortable and refreshed and revitalized, and something about the relaxation will help you to feel comfortable through your whole mind and body for the rest of the day. And you can always keep in mind relaxation. You can always keep relaxation in mind, because on some level that's the deep understanding you need, and you'll understand that, will you not? And you just don't know how yet on a conscious level. 1, 2, 3, opening your eyes and coming back to the room. So that was just a very brief self-hypnosis experience, just to give you a taste of self-hypnosis, ready for the course and of what you can expect on the course. So I look forward to seeing you on the next lecture. So what is self-hypnosis? Well, self-hypnosis is the process of hypnotizing yourself and putting yourself into a state of hypnosis. So hypnosis has 2 meanings essentially. One is I'm doing hypnosis to you. So it's the doing term. The other is I'm being hypnotized, I'm in hypnosis. So with self-hypnosis, if you're using a guided hypnosis type product, then you are choosing to put that on, you're choosing to listen to that, you're choosing to respond to that, and so you're doing self-hypnosis from a guided product. If you're doing hypnosis on yourself, then you'll normally be doing something like looking at a spot on the wall, or counting down, or imagining yourself walking down steps, or focusing on your breathing. You'll be doing something that you're guiding yourself through, and that's quite difficult for beginners to do, to be able to guide yourself through the process. It's much easier to listen to it on an MP3. So self-hypnosis is the process of putting yourself into hypnosis, or allowing yourself to go into hypnosis at listening to something else. Why use self-hypnosis and how does it work? Well, you use self-hypnosis because it's an effective way of updating patterns of behaviour. So hypnosis, the state, is the optimal learning state, and it's the state of mind that you go into whenever you update patterns of behaviour in your everyday life. So you do it every 90 to 120 minutes or so, where it's almost like someone pressing autosave on a computer, where your brain updates briefly patterns of behaviour and updates what you've been learning for the last hour to 2 hours. And so self-hypnosis essentially is a natural state of mind, is a natural state that you go into regularly. And so why you use it is because as it's the process of updating patterns of behaviour, you can take a pattern of behaviour that's not helpful and you can amend it with more helpful ways of being. So you can take a pattern of behaviour like allowing stress to cause tension across your muscles, in your forehead or in around the back of your head or wherever in your head. And that pattern that makes it so that when I get stressed, my body responds in this way, you can update it to when I get stressed, I respond in this new way that's healthier and much better for you. So that's why you would use self-hypnosis. And how it works is that it is directly accessing that optimal learning state, that updating of your patterns state of mind. And because you've directly accessed it, it means that you can take less repetitions of updating. You still need repetitions for some people. Some people do it straight away in one hit, other people need more repetitions. But it takes less repetitions than if you were to try and update the patterns entirely consciously. So how to prepare to use self-hypnosis? Well, to use self-hypnosis, you need to make sure that you can use it in pretty much any situation, and hypnosis doesn't necessarily require a quiet environment or anything like that. But it's always best to go for the optimal environment. And the optimal environment is to have a quiet environment, to know you've got enough time that you're not going to be disturbed for. So if you are going to be listening to the track for say 20 minutes, you want a good hour or so of time that you know you won't be disturbed, so you've got time to listen to it, come around afterwards, chill out for a bit, because sometimes you feel a bit like, I just want to relax now, and you don't feel like doing too much. So you don't want to think, I've got to jump in my car and get to place X by such and such a time, I best quickly do the self-hypnosis track now. You want to make sure you can genuinely dedicate your time to it, knowing that there's no hurry, you can just listen to it and go along with it. You don't want to do it while driving or anything like that, so don't listen to this in your car. And you don't really want to do it when there could be any other distractions around, or when there's other things you should be doing instead or paying attention to. Or, for example, don't put the cooking on and think, oh, it takes 90 minutes for the roast to cook, so I've got time to go and hypnotise myself, because that could obviously cause a fire hazard. So it's about creating a safe, quiet, calm environment. Ideally have it low light in that environment, not necessarily pitch black, just low light, so that it's comfortable on your eyes, and that's the ideal, optimal kind of environment. And you can sit down or lie down to listen and to go through self-hypnosis. Sometimes people lie down and fall asleep. It's quite rare, and sometimes you'll be hypnotized and not remember anything, and so you might think you're asleep because you think, well, I can't remember anything, so I must have been asleep. But if you've come around when you'd expect to come around, so if you came around after 20 minutes and it was a 20-minute self-hypnosis track, then actually you weren't asleep because you came around on cue. If you're asleep, you might wake up 2 hours later feeling drained and feeling exhausted and wondering what's happened. So you can lie down, but if you do happen to fall asleep, then you will have broken connection with me on the self-hypnosis track. So you want to then redo it again, but this time perhaps sit down instead. It could be that you were too tired when you did it, and so that's why you fell asleep. Sometimes actually, because our brains work in a way where sleep is very important, and if you need sleep and you're struggling with sleep as well, then your brain can sometimes say, you know what, I know you want to do this self-hypnosis for this reason, but actually I want to sleep, and so I'm going to make it so you sleep now instead of get the benefit you want, because sleep's more important. So some people will naturally just fall asleep because they're sleep deprived, and your brain decides to prioritize that over getting the benefits of the self-hypnosis for anything else. And if that's the case, sometimes that's good enough for people to start with, and they'll listen to it, get the sleeping part out their system, as it were, and then they'll start getting the effects of the self-hypnosis for the reasons they want. and you want to listen to this regularly, and as regularly as you need to. So this is about tension headaches. So it could be you listen to it when you've got a tension headache. It could be you listen to it regularly to try and keep headaches at bay. And it could be that you listen to it and it has a certain response. I know one therapist that said that he used to hypnotize himself, and he would find that his own personal self-hypnosis on himself, he had a chronic pain condition. So it wasn't like something that, like tension headaches, you can relax the muscles and then there isn't the tension. With him, there was always pain. And so he could do the technique, but after about 4 hours, the pain would start creeping back in. And if he was stressed, the pain would creep in earlier. So he would have to then redo his self-hypnosis roughly every 3.5 to 4 hours as a way of, for the whole day, keeping that pain at bay. So generally with tension headaches, that's not the case. Generally, you use it, you retrain your mind and body to respond in a different way, and then you don't have the problem. But some people may find that they do. Another point, because of it being to do with pain, is if the pain is actually a message that's very important that you should be listening to as a person, your unconscious will prioritize that over anything I say, anything anyone else says. So it would be very hard to remove the pain because your unconscious will be saying, no, this pain is a signal, it needs medically checking out. So make sure you've got anything checked out medically if needs be, so that if the pain is a signal that's not just a tension headache, then a doctor has actually checked you out and said, yes, that's just a tension headache, or no, that's something else, we need to look at that in a different way. So an example I'm reminded of is someone that was, they had hypnosis to help them with pregnancy and with pregnancy pain. And they went into labour, did the techniques, got rid of the pain. Went to the hospital because they knew they were in labour, even though they had no pain during the whole journey. When they arrived at the hospital, because they didn't look distressed, they were told to sit and wait. And instantly their unconscious brought this floods of pain back in their body. And so suddenly they were rushed into a room to a bed. But then their unconscious realised, you've got what you want, so we can ease off on the pain now, and I'll let the self-hypnosis work again. So the self-hypnosis worked again, the pain went away again. But then again, they weren't prioritised because the pain had gone away, so the pain came flooding back. So they had this cycle of the pain flooding back to get the attention of the nurses where needed, and then the pain subsiding when they're in a situation where they'd got what they needed and where they were genuinely able to be pain-free. If you do need to check anything out, make sure you've checked it all out. And make sure your environment's set ready, and then we'll move into the self-hypnosis. Okay, so this is the self-hypnosis track for relieving tension headaches. So take a few moments to sit down or lie down comfortably. And as you sit down or lie down comfortably, you can just begin to listen to my voice as I talk to you. And while I talk to you, you can begin to notice what your hands feel like. So while you rest there, just pay attention to your hands and just notice what your hands feel like. And notice the differences between the hands. So pay some attention to notice which hand feels the warmest at the moment. And it may not be evident at first, but allow your attention to be drawn to your hands. And as that tension's drawn to the hands, just notice which hand is the warmest and which hand is the coolest. And as you notice the differences between the hands, you can begin to breathe in a comfortable way. And you don't have to pay attention to your breathing. You'll just begin to breathe in a comfortable way. because you're beginning to drift inside and you're beginning to relax into the experience, but you don't have to know even how you're relaxing into the experience, because that relaxation will happen all by itself. The important thing is, for now, you just focus on those hands and notice the differences between those hands. And begin to notice which hand is the heaviest. And I wonder whether the heaviest hand is the same hand that's the warmest, or whether it'll be the coolest hand that's the heaviest. So just pay some attention to that. And while you pay attention to your hands, maybe you'll notice the occasional movement from your fingers, or maybe you'll notice a certain stillness that seems to have set into those hands. But what you'll be learning from those hands is how to relax away tension headaches. What you'll be learning from those hands is how to relax away the headache. Almost like the headache just turns to liquid and runs away and floats away and flows down to the floor and flows off. And again, you're not going to try and do that. That's just what's going to happen as you listen to the experience. So in a moment, we're going to begin to focus internally a little more. But before we do, just begin to notice which hand you think is the most numb, which hand you feel the least at the moment. And while you think about that, in your mind, just begin to imagine yourself in a log cabin. In a log cabin in the Alps. There's snow outside. It's freezing cold outside, but in the log cabin with the crackling log fire, you're comfortable and warm. In fact, you're better than comfortable and warm. You're so comfortable that your mind begins to wander with the flickering flame of the fire. And you can notice how that flickering flame seems to make shadows dance off the walls. And as the shadows dance off the walls, you can relax. And while you relax and listen to me in the background, my voice will go with you. And my voice will go with you, yet you don't have to really pay any attention to it. It's just there in the background. The only important thing is how you relax comfortably into hypnosis. And I don't know what chair you're sat in that log cabin, but you can find yourself sat in a chair and begin to get an idea of what makes that chair so comfortable. And as you sit comfortably in that chair, you can notice the window over there, the window in the log cabin. And notice that it looks like there's ice on the window, and the ice is on the outside of the window, and you can see snow through the window. And the window looks a bit misty where it's warmer on this side than it is on that side. And in a moment, you're going to get up and you're going to walk over to that window. And with a sense of curiosity, you're going to rest the palm of your hand on that window. And what you're curious about when you get to that window is that you know it's cold outside. You can see that it's cold outside. You know that it's warm inside. You can feel that it's warm inside. And so with curiosity, you can wonder if it's warm inside and cold outside, will the window when you touch it be warm because it's the inside of the window, or cold because of the coolness coming from the outside of the window. And you can have a deep sense of curiosity about what the experience will be. There. And you'll go deeper and deeper and more relaxed into self-hypnosis with each out-breath that you take. You go deeper and deeper, more relaxed into self-hypnosis with each out-breath that you take. That's it. And the spaces between my words and silence will help you go even deeper still, to a place where you become so comfortable, so responsive, where you find it easy to respond without thinking. In the same way that if a fly flies towards your face, it's easy to respond without thinking and swat the fly away. When you walk outside from a dark room and you squint in the sunlight, you find it easy to respond without thinking to that bright light by squinting. And so in the same way you can respond so comfortably to what I say, just like the sunlight. You can respond so comfortably to what I say. Yes. Going deeper and deeper with the spaces between my words. That's it. And you can now get up and walk over to that window. And when you reach the window, you can rest your hand on the window and discover whether the window is cold or warm. And as you rest your hand on the window and discover whether the window is cold or warm, I don't know whether it will be coolness or warmth that begins to spread from the palm of your hand, through your fingertips, through your thumb, to your wrist and up your arm. And that temperature can spread calmly and comfortably up your arm, up to your shoulder, and then up into your neck and gradually up into your head. And when that temperature reaches your head, that temperature can begin to calmly and comfortably dissolve away the old tension headache. It can begin to calmly and comfortably dissolve away discomfort. And you know discomfort is a 10-letter word. And you know 70% of discomfort is comfort. And you can always keep in mind that 70% of discomfort is comfort. That could be a comforting thought as you relax deeper and deeper. And relax more fully into the experience while that temperature targets the tension headache. And that temperature begins to dissolve away the headache. And you can see the shape, the size, the colour of that headache as that headache dissolves. You can have a sense of comfort setting in, muscles relaxing around the forehead, around the eyes, around the ears, around the back of the head, around the top of the head. You can have a sense of relaxation setting in throughout your mind and body and your head. And as that relaxation sets in, so the old tension headache can begin to dissolve and fade away. And I don't know whether it'll dissolve and run away like liquid water flowing away, or whether the temperature will make it dissolve and flow away by turning it to vapour so that you can sense it disappearing through the top of your head and just disappearing out into the atmosphere. So with each breath you take, that headache can dissolve and disappear faster and more comfortably. And you can feel more relaxed. And as you feel more relaxed and listen to me, your unconscious will learn comfortably how to make that headache go away and make all the necessary changes to keep headaches away. Because there are things that can cause headaches, like certain ways of thinking, certain levels of attention. It may be that your unconscious makes your head remain in self-hypnosis long after this track ends. And because your head remains in self-hypnosis, it remains tension-free. And I don't know whether you'll be tension headache free straight away for good, or whether you might have one or two future tension headaches. All I know is that there will be a reduction, and that reduction will increase. And you will notice greater reduction the more you listen to this track. And that tension headache can dissolve away fully as I count from 10 down to 1. Almost like my counting is a painkiller. A bright red capsule. In fact, it's a bright red liquid capsule. And it's almost like you can find a bright red 100% guaranteed pain-killing liquid capsule in the palm of your hand right now. And when I begin to count, you get a sense of putting the capsule into your mouth and a sense of swallowing the capsule. And then it will take to the count from 10 down to 1 for that capsule to go down into your stomach, to dissolve, and for the pain-killing properties of the capsule, for the pain-killing properties of that medication. And you know, and I know, you have experience of effective medication. And you can have that experience of this effective medication then spreading out and spreading up to the areas where the headache happens. And this capsule lasts many hours. It's an incredibly effective capsule. For many it will last much longer than the headache is likely to have lasted. And so the headache remains gone. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, that's it, 2, 1, that's it, that's it. And you can now just take a few moments of peace and calm to comfort away your mind and body, to fill yourself with comfort, with pleasant thoughts, pleasant feelings, pleasant ideas. And with every moment of silence from me, you will go deeper and deeper, and this will become increasingly more effective for you. And then after a while I'll begin talking again, to bring you back out of this self-hypnosis. And when I do, all the necessary changes will be made deeply on an unconscious level, permanently fixed in place in your neurology, and you will always keep in mind how comfortable your mind and head can be. You'll always keep in mind how to keep your head comfortable in a way that doesn't take any conscious effort. That's it. That's it. And in just a second you'll begin to come all the way back to the room, and I will count from 1 up to 3, and on the count of 3 you'll open your eyes and feel refreshed and relaxed and ready to carry on with the day. 1, 2, 3. Opening your eyes, coming back to the room, feeling refreshed and relaxed and ready to carry on with the day. And you can listen to this as often as you need to help you to remain free of headaches. So other than just using self-hypnosis, which you can use regularly to help yourself with pain control, other ideas are just being able to find ways of relaxing. So when you do things like sort of slouching your face and relaxing your muscles, and when you go, that sort of relaxes your facial muscles. So when you do these things and you relax your muscles and you perhaps slump a bit, and all things you're told not to do at school, you're told to sit up straight. When you do these things where you're relaxing muscles and you breathe, and you do perhaps 7-11 breathing, which is breathing in counting to 7 and out counting to 11, and the longer out breath triggers the relaxation response. So it doesn't have to be 7-11, it can be 3-5, but it's just the counting is really only there to make sure you definitely breathe out longer than you breathe in. So you can do things like that. So the out breath's longer than the in breath. You do many breaths like that and you just get into a pattern of doing that breathing. Anything that helps you to relax will help you to relieve tension headaches. And other ideas are EFT, so emotional freedom technique. You can do tapping. It doesn't have to actually, the research on tapping is that different patterns of tapping also work. It's more about the tapping triggers a sort of hypnotic state, as it were. So you can sort of tap under your eyes, just quite fast, so like that. Tap beside your eyes, tap there. You can tap there. I actually find for headaches though, tapping there and there is often the best ones. It's sort of, you can almost, if you can see how hard I'm doing that, it's not too hard but not too soft. It's not sort of, it's just a regular tap. And I find that works quite well. You can feel your head almost vibrating as you do it, and I find that almost seems to make the muscles calm themselves and even themselves out. So that's another technique that's very good for helping with headaches. So summing up, what I've covered here is a bit about what hypnosis is, what self-hypnosis is, and why you should use self-hypnosis with things like pain control. I've also guided you through a self-hypnosis process for dealing with tension headaches. And I've given you a couple of other ideas and examples that you can use to manage tension headaches and how to prepare for doing hypnosis. Frequently, tension headaches are caused by life stresses. So it's useful to find out what those life stresses are and look at how you can resolve them, how you can find ways to relax in those life stressful situations. And by doing techniques that help you to relax in those stressful situations, that will also help with the tension headaches. And if you can look at ways of coming out of those situations or thinking about those situations differently. So for example, if you spend a lot of time worrying about certain situations, then writing down your worries is a very helpful thing you can do. Write down your worries to externalize it, to help it to be something that you're now looking at and analyzing, and you can go through and think, right, can I solve that worry? If yes, give the solution. If no, is that worry a real thing or is it my personal opinion? So if it's a worry like, I think they really hated me, I think that person I met today really hated me, then can you prove that? Is that something that's real, and does it really matter? And if it does matter, what makes that matter? Why does it matter? What is the issue with it mattering? So writing it all down though lets you externalize it and lets you be able to analyze it and stops it going around and around in your own head. So that's a useful way, again, of helping with tension headaches. Another thing is making sure you get enough sleep. So if you're not getting enough sleep, then you're more likely to have tension headaches because you spend all your time trying to sort of force your eyes to be open and it's a lot of pressure on you. So making sure you definitely are getting early nights and sleeping through the night, and that there's a regularity to your sleep patterns.